Yeah, just want to welcome everybody back to yet another AMA in the Future Lounge. Today we have Dan, who is a speaker on behalf of KOLS. Dan, welcome into the Future Lounge. Please introduce yourself, introduce the team, and tell us a bit about the project.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So I'm Dan Thompson, the CEO and founder at Sensei, and I'm an advisor on behalf of KOLS. My background is quite varied and quite mixed. So I think you can tell I'm British originally, and most of my life was spent. So I studied philosophy and then did an MBA at Cambridge before going on to basically build out a restaurant and bar company that built 23 restaurants and bars across Europe up until the pandemic. But at the same time, I had a bit of experience in finance. And then in 2017, when I was based out of Gibraltar, I actually was a partner in Europe's first crypto index fund under legal framework. But before then, I kind of got into crypto a bit earlier, around 2015, because of the restaurants and bars again, and I was a bit, furious with the way that payments were handled by payment providers. And at the time, someone told me about Bitcoin, and I could just see the use straight away, even then. And so I bought a very happy amount now back then, and been very fortunate to hodl my way through it. So then I set up the index fund based out of Gibraltar. I was there for a couple of years until the pandemic came along, which ended up, well, I actually moved out of the index fund at that point anyway. Pandemic came along, unfortunately closed all of my restaurants and bars, and it gave me the sort of freedom to start a nomadic lifestyle. So I was traveling during the pandemic, which was incredible, and just basically being the only tourist in several countries. And then during that time, I had a bit more sort of mental space and clarity, and DeFi had really just started exploding in DeFi summer. And so I landed an opportunity working as a CMO at an insurance protocol called Insurace, which is a project by the MetaRisk team, and ended up working there for 2.5 years until I decided to launch Sensei. Sensei in itself is an AI project that is where we create digital clones of people. So basically, it's a personality engine that is extremely powerful. I use my replica for pretty much everything. It gave a presentation at a conference in Florida yesterday when I didn't even have to be there. And so it's an amazing technology to be building, but because it's quite varied and the opportunities are quite vast in terms of how it can be used, we're now working with 6 different teams to build out, on top of that replication technology, to build out different industries and opportunities, because there are so many. You could have everything from AI lawyers, AI doctors. You could have everything for healthcare, for education. Imagine replicating leading professors and offer them to places in the world where education is just not as strong. You could have interactive NPCs for gaming. So imagine creating your own replica of yourself and licensing that out to gaming companies to have as NPCs in their game, and giving you money back for that. There's opportunities for us to apply it to networking, job hunting, matchmaking, customer sales, customer service and sales, and so forth. So there's just loads of different directions this could be taken in. And that's when the KOLS team reached out to us and said that they wanted to do a influencer marketing approach to the replication tech, and they were looking to build it out themselves. And we said, you should just use our API to build this because it's there. We've already done a lot of the hard work, but the idea behind KOLS is exactly that. It's replicating key opinion leaders and influencers to have as industry leaders and make their knowledge and their skills and their experiences more available to their followers, to their community. At an extreme level, if you think of someone like Taylor Swift being able to interact with all of her fans in a very intimate way, that's what we're doing for KOLS. So it basically enables any key opinion leader in the space, any influencer, or at least the ones that the KOLS team are curating, to create a digital replica of themselves to have in their community as an additional way of getting alpha for themselves, but also to share their alpha, to share their knowledge, to share their trading tips. These replicas have the ability to have vision, so they can look at charts, they can analyze charts and give feedback based on the data, based on the way they've been trained. They can look at different projects. They can look at, they can connect to different token dashboards and pages on Dex Screener, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, and Nextc to be able to pull out the latest information about these projects and then give direct feedback in their style. So it's a really, really cool application of Web3 influencers as AI agents of themselves. Binance, funnily enough, 2 days ago, just released an entire study into this, saying that there's a huge opportunity here. So, we're extremely bullish on this project right now. And beyond that, these replicas can be licensed out to places like Binance or Coinbase or anywhere where they have a learn to earn program or some kind of community questing tools. Looking at Galaxy Azila, you can look at Rabbit Hole, Quest and TaskOn. All of these different platforms can essentially license these AI KOLs to have there as essentially customer support as a way of interacting with the community and onboarding people with faces and names of people who are famous in the space and known to be experts. So it's a really powerful tool for helping to onboard the next 1 billion users to crypto, and actually manages to decentralize the whole process of Web3 KOLs, because right now, obviously they can be a bit money grabbing, and this offers an opportunity down the line when we can mint them as NFTs to actually democratize that a little bit and decentralize it. So there's a very, very long-winded introduction to myself and KOLs, but hopefully that gives
everyone yeah, no, amazing. I appreciate that. It's obviously you guys are covering quite a lot in your utility in the white paper, and obviously I did want to cover a bit about how Sensei is tying into it as well. So you've done that beautifully. Hopefully those who weren't familiar with you guys are starting to get a bit of an idea. And I'm sure as we go through, we can fill in the blanks as we go along. So to have an idea of what drew you to the KOLS team, obviously, the actual idea and then utilizing the underlying technology that you guys have developed at Sensei, it seemed like a good fit. Can you go over a bit about why you had a big draw to the KOLS team rather than maybe doing a Zuckerberg and just kind of taking the idea and spinning it with just Sensei?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. So, as for the Sensei tech is quite comprehensive and can be used for so many different verticals. And quite frankly, I just don't want to try and run different verticals that I don't understand that well. So we have we've identified like 30 different use cases for Sensei tech, and we're currently working with 6 different teams to build out different verticals. KOLS is the only Web3 based one. The others are one's for legacy tech, one's for like conference networking, and then we've got one for like YouTube and Twitch streamers, one for OnlyFans chatters, and one for it's matchmaking. So those are being built out, and then KOLS comes along as a really exciting opportunity, and having that Web3 aspect just ties into the background that some of our team have, and it's one that I know the guys who are running it and wanted to help them out as much as possible to make the launch as much of a success. And that's they've got a really they put an incredible team together. With some really talented developers and marketers. So it's going to be a really strong project that's basically a win-win-win for everyone, because the KOLs who are founding KOLs are supporting it and will be are contracted in to support it for the next 12 months. We've already filled out the 25 founding KOLs that we needed as a starting point, and now we are literally turning away some pretty big names as well who are wanting to get into this at this point. So we'll open it up to other KOLs in the future, but for now we're starting off with the 25 founding KOLs, And so it should be a really great few weeks while we launch this. Obviously, the market has has turned around extremely nicely in the last week, and yeah, there's just a huge amount of other things we think it just makes it a really good timing for this. Enjoying the AI narrative, the AI agent narrative as well, and yeah, so KOLS just I knew I could offer some help, and so I was happy to jump in and support the guys with contacts, with some help when it comes to introductions for things like launch pads and centralized exchanges. And so yeah, I'm just helping them to make sure that we have a really successful launch in the same way we did with Sensei, and have really good really great project that really can help a lot of people in the space, with just some really talented individuals who really know their stuff about the space.
Wonderful. Now, I appreciate going into a different why the choice to kind of bring this outside of Sensei. Like you said, you don't want to pigeonhole you guys while you're already covering a lot of other use cases. You sound like you've got a lot on your plate already, so it makes sense that okay, well, I've got these connections I can utilize. I can kind of give maybe an overseeing hand, but I can leave it to these people that I think are reliable, that I think are hardworking, and they know what they're doing at the end of the day. So yeah, it makes sense completely.
Yeah, and we have we have this list, right? And so when specific people come to us, so like for example, education is a huge opportunity for someone to build on top of Sensei and create an educational tool for either tutors or teaching kids, teaching adults, apprentice based up, or just sharing expert knowledge. So we know it's a huge opportunity. We know there's a huge amount of money in that space, but we know it's not one that we are looking to do ourselves. So we have it listed on our site, and if someone comes along who's interested to build out that technology on top of Sensei tech stack, we make the API available to them. We'll work with them to get it done, but as a tech provider. Whereas, like I said, my interest, well, my role here is as an official advisor for KOLS project, which is something I don't do for the others. I mean, I'll help and support where I need to within my usual capacity as a CEO of Sensei. But yeah, for KOLS, I was very happy to jump on board, because I think it's a part of the Web3 space that definitely needs addressing. Having for a lot of new projects as well, especially young projects that are just coming into the space or trying to launch, and it can be so daunting. And then some of the KOLs at like their full price will be charging tens of thousands of dollars to push a project, and sometimes they invest. Depends on the market type, the time in the market cycle. Sometimes they will just support or just find you organically, and that's great. But that's extremely hard to get in front of them, especially during these kind of like crazy meme cycles, but just because people are just paying them with crazy amounts of money, so they just jack up their prices, and they won't get out of bed for like less than 10K. But by having AI versions themselves, just actually would make that a bit cheaper. So you could have their same knowledge, like talking about the quality of a particular project, as an AI version of them that can interact with different communities, that could be licensed into Telegram bots or Discord bots that can interact with communities directly and talk about the project that way. And then they don't, then it saves them time and effort, and would probably come at a fraction of the cost of actually paying them to do a video or a tweet. So it's there's really good opportunities for projects here to actually leverage the KOLS influences.
Mm-hmm. And I think you touched on a very good point in terms of education in the space. When somebody's joining this, the current space for the first time, maybe they've had, some money in L1s, but when you delve into areas like meme coins, like L2s, it can be incredibly overwhelming. So being able to have a one-on-one conversation with somebody who is experienced, who does know the space very well, is massively beneficial. I think most people that tend to stick around in the space kind of already knew somebody, and maybe they were brought in. But for a good majority of people, that won't be the case. I think that a lot of people might stumble in on their own devices, but maybe lose interest when they realize they've got an overwhelming amount of information to learn and to process, and no one to really hold their hand during that process. So, like you said, there's a much more engaging and affordable way to do so, or to lean on somebody's experience through like one of their AI, their AI models. That could be incredibly beneficial, not only for communities like you were suggesting, but like even down to the individuals. To touch on that a little bit, I did want to go over the subscription model that KOLS has, because I think mentioned in the introductory video and in the white paper as well, you guys go through a subscription model, and then people can utilize the KOLS token to also have a discounted subscription rate. So do you mind covering a bit about that, why you guys went with the subscription model, and what that actually entitles individuals to access?
Yeah, sure. So the subscription model will come in probably the start of next year. Basically, I mean, to at a very simple level, we wanted to have this, this platform available to everyone, but at the same time, it needs to have some kind of benefit to the influencers that we sign up. So, we wanted to put a subscription over the entire page to enable access, and not talking huge amounts, but definitely would offer a 50% discount using the KOLS token as a form of payment. So there's a very small utility in the KOLS token there. It's so the subscription model basically would give anyone access to all of the KOLs on the KOLS platform, and also, in the future, the KOLS token will be able to be used to be traded, to trade the actual KOLS NFTs. So when we create NFTs based on the AI replicas, and then when they are licensed out to various projects, most likely the NFT holders will be will receive revenue share from that in particular. But that's a bit further down the line. The basic subscription model is just to access the KOLs in the early stages, to have access to these the owl that these guys have. We'll be working closely with them to actually keep their replicas updated and train on the latest stuff. It'll be feeding off their Twitters, their YouTube, so we'll be scraping all their videos, we'll be scraping all their tweets, and anytime that they push a different project, we'll be able to pull out all the information on that project and have it there as an informational tool, educational tool on those projects. So it becomes a really powerful extension of themselves, based on their own writing, their own messages, their own understanding of the markets, and their own approach to both investing and the projects that they support.
Okay, fantastic. And yeah, I'll definitely want to cover a bit more about how the NFTs will be playing into it. But like you said, that's obviously for down the line. But for right now, it's going to be subscription model, 50% off. And it's one blank subscription then, just to have access to the page and all the different creators and their personality AIs? Or is it you're subscribing to an individual KOL's AI?
It'll be a blanket subscription to the entire page, and all the KOLs, and then the KOLs basically get rewarded based on usage. So depending on the let's say the crypto lord is on there. Let's say he's the most popular influencer on the platform. Then his replica will earn him more of the subscription revenue than someone else. So it's just basically done per interaction with that particular replica, rather than have to subscribe to each one separately, which I think is just a bit tiresome.
Mm-hmm. And you kind of highlighted in one of when we were covering the education bit about kind of having them in as Telegram bots and Discord bots for communities. How would that work in terms of access? Because obviously, is it going to be where one individual's paid for the subscription, but then his entire community or his and her entire community has access to the AI? Or kind of how do you facilitate kind of having them out and using them as Discord bots and Telegram bots?
Yeah. So the KOLs themselves will be able to use their own replicas in their own sort of like, private channels,
Hmm.
and that'd be fine. And maybe even in their public channels if they want to, which I think does help to bring, but a lot of them won't necessarily do that. Some of them are just YouTube based. When they license them out to different projects or via Telegram bots, we can see the amount of messages, and so there is a way of essentially charging the projects for that license out to them, and so that basically is them paying the equivalent of the subscription fees to the project and to the influencer.
Okay, so that would be almost considered like a separate charge in of itself. So
Yeah.
you have a subscription fee that, let's say, just like KOLs holders or just individuals are going to go to get access to all of these KOLs. But then, in addition to that, you can have projects or the KOLs themselves license out those likenesses to have in their communities for people to interact with.
Yeah. So uh, we want to make it as useful and available as possible, right? So,
Hmm.
wherever they find the greatest utility, we're trying to start simple and just really work on the quality of the replicas to begin with. But then, we have plans to get it. We can already get it out to Telegram and Discord bots, um, and then wherever and however that's done to ensure that there is value being added back into the KOLS project, and by association the KOLS token. We need to make sure that they are useful and charged for appropriately. So it's not just kind of like a free for all use of a random AI agent that's just trained on a lot of really good quality Web3 knowledge.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I think that when the kind of AI meta first emerged, I would say what, probably early kind of February 22. No, yeah, probably about that time. That's when we did see kind of those like blank AI trading tools, or that I think that it was mostly LARP, but there were a few genuine utility cases of people trying to create web through AI traders that people could copy trade, or just have them like trade for you. Um,
Yeah,
KOLS is definitely very unique in the terms of I've never seen it where you're actually taking likeness of popular traders and popular names in the space and implementing more so their trading strategy and what they would do in those situations, which I think that level of personalization is can definitely be a massive draw, and you're playing into big markets with their own communities that will come in and be interested, and being able to interact with somebody that they might not have the opportunity to, um, you know in comparison to just a blank AI, nameless AI thing that maybe
yeah,
it would take a lot longer to develop some sort of trust or bond with. You kind of are able to eliminate a lot of that by having this likeness of a KOL that maybe those followers have already come to know and trust. So yeah, it's great to see, and it's great to see that you guys aren't trying to limit yourself to like one revenue stream as well. I think a lot of utility plays tend to focus in on just one, and then they fall short when that doesn't seem to be popular. So being able
yeah.
to branch out and figure out, okay, how can we chart, or how can we ensure that we've got money coming in from this? What are the different ways that we can kind of provide this service? So it's good that you guys have thought of a couple of different models as well. Um, to to keep talking about the revenue for a moment,
Hmm.
I've noticed in your documents you've got staking and rewards as
Yep.
a section for obviously a benefit for your holders. Is the revenue or is the revenue that's going to be coming from the subscription model and from the licensing going to play into the staking and rewards for your KOLs holders?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, you make some really good points about basic utility tokens and how they're quite one dimensional. Um, and there was actually an extension that I forgot to mention that is once the Web3 KOLs are there and they've been used as AI agents to help with education and promotion of projects, they can we don't just, KOLs doesn't have to be limited to Web3 influence either. We can go on to
Hmm.
actually open up to any influencers who would like replicas to be used in the same way and licensed out. when it comes to token revenues, so token revenues coming in down the line will be used for staking rewards. Initially, we have quite a large marketing community pool for rewards for staking and for interaction with the community, in the gamification, the Galaxy Zealy campaigns and airdrops, and just the awareness. We'll be doing several promotions with the different KOLs themselves to help them encourage and raise awareness of the project. So there's lots of opportunity there. But yeah, revenues coming in from both the subscriptions to the platform to the through the license fees to be paid by other projects and educational platforms. It will be substantial as well, because there's B2B income will be quite high for them to actually have these replicas licensed out to them. And it could be KOLs already working with, and it could be influential people that maybe people would like to learn from, but are quite secretive, like the Zach XBTs of the world. There's people that we can create as helpful AI assistants for them that are trained on their specific style of interacting with the space. And it's interesting you say about the trading bot. So most likely we'll probably integrate a trading bot into this project, because there's no point in us trying to build it out ourselves. And no matter how much training we give it, based on the guys can give it their kind of like parameters in terms of what they would usually look for to buy things. So we can give it some guidance, but the actual sort of trading analysis bots that are quite generic are, we'll probably partner with one or two to integrate that. But you're right, having recognizable faces goes a lot further than just having these sort of generic chatbots you see everywhere. And it makes a real difference in terms of, adding that personal layer back onto it, adding that sort of personal connection that people have. I don't know about, everyone else in space here, but, I remember the first 2 or 3 influencers that I really, respected and got me sort of educated in the space. And the people that I would recommend even now as, good information sources to follow, to learn about the space. So it's a really nice project to be able to, enhance on that. And, cryptos and Web3 has given me so much over the last few years, and some of these people really got me into it, and having the ability to interact with them more and actually ask questions directly to them would have been amazing when I was learning. So it's really great to actually be a part of something that can make that available to all of the new users that are bound to come in the next few months.
Yeah, and I think as volumes picked up and as the number of faces, or the number of people coming into the space does keep on increasing, the likelihood that you can have more one-on-one interactions with these influencers, with KOLs you respect, becomes far more limited. And like you said, as we know in bear market, it might be quite easy to maybe get into a private group with them, or if you stick around and you work at it, and even in the sense of like maybe if they have private groups that are subscription based, it might be quite affordable during those times. But as soon as it gets into bull market, prices skyrocket, and they always do. Not only just because the price of one ETH or one SOL is going to go up anyway, but they know, KOLs realize the power that they have, and they realize that people are willing, like you said earlier, to pay exorbitant amounts of money for their services, or for shout outs, or just for their own insight. It does become quite inaffordable for the average trader, I would say. So having an alternative that might not be the direct one-on-one relationship that or information insight that somebody's trying to gain, but as close as you can get for a fraction of the cost, would be, I imagine, very attractive for a lot of people. Now, some of the avid listeners and eager people looking at the chat have already seen, guys, we are going to roll into community questions. So if anybody here listening does have a question for Dan and the KOLS team, feel free to go ahead, type them in chat now. You can tag my username at allfortheice. There are a few rules to remember, please, guys. Keep them short and sweet. 2 paragraphs long is a lot for me to proofread. try and limit yourself to one question if possible. And finally, make sure it's a personalized question, a custom question that you guys have come up with for Dan and for the KOLS team. We're really trying to avoid those generic, copy and pasted questions that you could ask any project coming into these AMAs. So, guys, just remember to follow those rules. If you do think I've skipped you over, that's usually because you're not following one of those three I mentioned. So I've just moved on to other people. So yeah, Dan, just before we jump into that, and just to give me some time to do some proofreading, I've noticed on the KOLS Telegram that you guys are going to be going into your round 2 pre-sale. So just for those eager listeners who are thinking, when's the earliest I can get in, and how am I going to do so? Can you give us a rundown of how people can participate in that round 2 pre-sale, and maybe a bit of oversight on what happened in the previous raise as well?
Yeah, absolutely. This is where it gets really exciting, because it's a really good time to be listening into this. So I'm a big fan of, and the team are as well, of creating projects that are available to the public in a way that typical VCs and KOLs and other sort of people don't get into with any kind of preference or priority. So what we decided to do was, instead of doing the sort of angel and pre-seed and seed rounds and everything else that projects usually go through with the VCs, for KOLS we decided to do it in a few public rounds. So the pre-sale rounds are all open and public, and published ahead of time, so everyone has a chance to get into them. So we're doing 3 rounds with GemPad at increasing amounts and decreasing discounts. So the first sale sold out last week in a few hours. That was an 80% discount on the TGE price. Today, in literally an hour and a half on GemPad will be the round 2 of the pre-sale. This is coming with a 60% discount off of the TGE price. TGE is going to be the first week of December on Uniswap and on a leading centralized exchange, and so it's a really great opportunity to get in, and within 3 or 4 weeks, 2.5x your money by the time it launches. We expect it to sell out very fast, so it's listed on and featured on GemPad right now. We expect it to sell out within minutes, if not hours, but definitely sell out before the next pre-sale, which is next week, which is with a 40% discount off the public sale price. So so you've really got an opportunity to get in here at the best possible price. And then the end of this month, we have 2 launch pads, Pools and Engine Starter, both tier one launch pads. We've worked with them before. They'll be definitely selling out at the public sale and IDO price before we launch onto the centralized exchanges. And as you said there, the volume's picking up hugely at the moment. So there's a huge opportunity to get into this at the right time. So that's what we're super excited about right now.
I appreciate the rundown. I know people always want to, they'll get halfway through an AMA and they're already trying to figure out, when can they contribute, when can they get in. So I appreciate you giving the rundown on earliest opportunity available. And it's literally happening in, like you mentioned, an hour and a half, maybe just under that. So I do want to highlight to everybody, if you are looking for more information on that, definitely head over to the KOLS Telegram. The link is provided in our pinned messages. So I think it's just like a couple pin messages up, guys. You can go ahead, join their Telegram, show some love from the Future Launch community, and I'm sure you can stay updated with when that pre-sale round is going to go live. Now we do have a bunch.
I can add a couple of extra quick things on that. So yeah, it's as well as that, we're big believers in not locking people's tokens up for a very long time. So it's there'll be a 20% unlock with TGE, with just a very quick 9-month vesting on the remaining tokens. So, but we expect to do quite well off the launch. So there's a real opportunity. You could very quickly make a bit of profit off that 20% release just by itself. So yeah, sorry. I mean, especially if with the lower price, you're definitely basically, even at launch, pretty much covering your investment, even with the 20% unlock.
Okay, fantastic. No, I appreciate that. It's always good to be transparent with vesting because I know plenty of people who hop into it thinking they're going to get 100% of their, of their tokens, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you get a lot of unnecessary FUD when it's like, well, it was clearly stated, it's clearly documented, but I think a lot of people in the space don't enjoy reading as much, or maybe going through all the info. But yeah, appreciate you covering the key points there. Now, we do have a bunch of questions coming in, so I'm going to start reading from our list. I can see a couple hands raised as well. So yeah, if you're not microphone shy, you can just hop on VC with us as well. So keep those hands raised. I'm just going to go through some of the first questions that I see in chat here that look very cool. So first one I do want to take is going to be from Alberto. So Alberto wants to know, what is the process for onboarding and verifying KOLs for the platform? How do you ensure those KOLs are, reputable and truly knowledgeable, and not some of the male characters or, quote unquote villains of the space?
What's the Batman quote? It's you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, typically the way it goes with a lot of KOLs as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. So, the first couple it was difficult to get started. It was markets were quiet. People were a bit like nervous about jumping into a new project, and understandably. But as soon as we did get the first two or three landed, it really solidified the rest coming in. A lot of the time we've done it through referrals and introductions. A few people we have targeted specifically because we respect them, we like them, but everyone is vetted. So there are, and I completely agree, there are some very, very bad actors in the space who are notorious for pump and dumps and scams and issues, which is why I said earlier that we're not just creating every person with a following for this. It's really will be almost on an application basis to vet the KOLs that we think are genuinely useful. And we've got a target list. There are certain influencers and KOLs in the space that we would really love to work with that aren't currently on our list, and we will continue to reach out to them and hopefully get them onboarded. So, personally, I'm a big fan of what they do at the Coin Bureau, and I think that this would be a great one to have. Not necessarily even just promoting about KOLs as a project, but just to have a replica of Guy from Coin Bureau and have it available to people based off of all of the different YouTube videos, all of the different tweets and Telegram messages that they've sent over the years. So I think there's a real, a good few people that we'd love to have on that don't necessarily put their names to projects directly for the kind of shill purposes. But I think that once we're live and, people see that it's, again, we put our names and our faces on this, we want to show quality, and it's all audited, KYC, full work. So we want to, build that, that quality reputation, because you're right, certain KOLs in the space have bad, have acted badly in the past, have bad reputations for being scammers. And so, by association, we don't want to be that. And the same with the KOL managers. There's plenty of KOL managers in the space who get a bit of a bad rep because they charge a lot for what they do, and then the quality of what comes out isn't great. So we're really hoping to, use this platform as a way of fixing some of those issues. But yeah, so the vetting process really is that we decide as a team which KOLs to onboard, which ones we like. There will be the occasional novelty one for sure. Don't get me wrong, like replicating BitBoy crypto is just funny, but it won't be one of those. It won't be a replica that we would then like license out or use as a as something that we would put the sort of mark of quality against, because it just I mean, God, it'd be
It's
awful.
there for comedic relief. we need
Yeah.
that in this space. I think we like to see ourselves as a not so serious bunch. So having those actors around really solidifies that. So it's not something you can overlook when you're looking at the market we're in. So yeah, definitely awesome to have that. And yeah, quick shout out to Guy at Coin Bureau as well. That I like how you referenced them. That is my when I have friends and family who are outside of crypto who are asking me all of these questions as soon as Bitcoin goes up 5%. I usually reference Coin Bureau or immediately put them onto a video of what a topic they're asking about, because it's a lot easier to have Guy explain it than me try and go through it for the 15th time.
Yeah, and then it's an incredible channel, has been for years, and their ability to explain some of the more complex projects and complex parts of the industry and quite broad from technology through to the financial markets and everything else is really incredible. So hats off to those guys, and same, but they're the type of people would are on the list for the future that we'd love to work with and create replicas for, and I'm sure we will. And yeah, and so we do have a target list of ones we'd love to work with. We did only have 25 spots for our founding KOL, so again, we worked through ones that were recommended to us, or people that we knew, or they come from trusted sources mostly, and maybe not everyone will agree with all of them. Maybe there'll be one or two you think's maybe not the best of quality, but to have the vast majority of really good quality influencers and KOLs in the space onboarded already is great for the team.
Amazing. Well, yeah, awesome question there as well. I just want to highlight again, Alberto, thank you for the question there. Yeah, that's again, guys, just as a reference, that's the sort of quality question we're looking to get from you guys as we're going through these. The next question I did want to take is going to be from Anderson. Anderson wanted to know, in addition to just the basic subscription, obviously the licensing fee that we covered, would you guys be looking to have a premium rate in the future that may have access to more premium features past what's available in the normal subscription?
Yeah, great question. Very cool idea. Yes, that would be the answer there. I think that as we develop out the technology and the different integrations, like the trading bot and things like that, I think there's definitely an opportunity to figure out how to charge appropriately for that. I think that might come from like premium integrations, like trading analysis, and even in the future to maybe even make it actually make these replicas autonomous for you, or licensing that yourself. So I think there's definitely an opportunity for higher tiered packages and subscriptions in the future. But for now, it really does come down to this idea of having replicas there who are high quality, useful educational tools, and with the sort of, I guess, the blessing and the working with the KOLs themselves to actually create them so that they're as accurate as possible. But yeah, I mean, having a premium tier later on is definitely something that we would probably be looking to do, as well as the different revenue sources in themselves.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I appreciate the question there as well, Anderson. Thank you. Next question I did want to take is going to be from the principal. So he did have an initial question that we have covered, so I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt because I do like his follow-up, which is in regards to the actual followers of these KOLs. So the people who are coming in and making replicas of themselves, providing it on the platform. We've obviously got a discounted subscription if people pay with the KOLS tokens, almost a benefit to KOLS holders exclusively. The principal wants to highlight, are there any additional benefits for the KOLs followers directly, or maybe any additional incentivizations for followers to come in and engage on the KOLS platform?
Yeah, so again, it comes down to the different KOLs that we get on board. So if if they're like a YouTube channel, predominantly, if they don't have some kind of like private Telegram or Discord server, then there's definitely the need for their followers to come and interact with the KOLs on the KOLs platform, because it gives that kind of interactive feedback. For the ones that do have channels, again, we can create bots for them, but maybe these are paid groups anyway. So maybe there's an opportunity or a preference for people to interact with all of the different KOLs at the same time via the KOLs platform. And they'll be incentivized. There'll be discounts available and opportunities available for the followers of these influencers to actually come onto the platform itself. I think that there'll be definitely incentives. There'll be definitely opportunities and just different marketing quest campaigns to encourage them to come over. We can reward that with additional KOLs tokens. We can incentivize it with different partner and project tokens to do so. Because again, if the KOLs are working with other projects anyway, if they want their replica into those projects, there's definitely a part of the licensing deal that could be we should get some of the tokens from that project to to reward KOLs token holders as well as for using their AI replicas. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of different opportunities ahead for sure, and we'll be figuring out lots of creative ways to bring over the followers and subscribers from the influencers on their various platforms. But some have much more obvious need for it than others, because some of the KOLs are very reactive in terms of like Twitter DMs and replies, on Telegram DMs and replies, and some are not, right? Again, sort of Coin Bureau is an excellent example here. Most of the YouTube channel still has a Telegram sort of announcement. I'm sure they've got a private group somewhere, but the reality is most people who would like to ask them questions, there's no real way of getting that kind of direct feedback. So having a replica train that can interact as if it's them based off of their videos, linking to various videos and various bits of information on the projects they cover, would be a really useful tool that would enable them to interact with their community in a much more intimate way than they currently can.
Yeah, exactly. And wonderful question there from Principal. So thank you for that as well. Now, we do have some questions, guys, that I do want to highlight. Is information we've probably covered earlier in the AMA, just in regards to Rarest, your question on the sustainability of the staking rewards. We kind of covered that when we went through the revenue stream that the project has and how that's going to be feeding back into staking. So obviously, once we release the recording, feel free to go back and listen into that. I can see that we've still got a couple hands raised in the VC. So I am going to hand it over to the two eager listeners here, Favourjoy and Liko, who seem to be eager to ask a question directly. So Favourjoy, you're going to be up first. I've allowed you to speak. Feel free to unmute and ask your question. I'll give you 5 seconds because I hate dead air. And otherwise, I will just go to Liko. All right. Well, there we go. Favourjoy, the mic is yours.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
No problem. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah. Straight to my question. So my question will be about the language barrier. So I really want to know what are the plans you have for like Spanish country and French language into this your project?
Yeah, great question. And thank you for a good question. I was expecting something a bit more generic to come out. Yeah, so this is actually one of the other benefits of KOLs that I normally will rattle off very quickly, but completely forgot. So, one of the limitations that most KOLs have is that they speak one language, and sure, there is some kind of translation for videos available and captions available, and sometimes there's you can translate tweets and things, but it's never really quite the same. And especially if you are interacting with any of them in their private channels, it's often the fact is that if you're not a native English speaker, it is actually very difficult. And it's very easy for us to forget as native English speakers that is a big issue for a lot of people around the world who really want to get into crypto. I mean, for instance, my girlfriend's from Venezuela, and Venezuela is a huge country for crypto and usage and adoption itself. And, obviously as Spanish speakers, they are limited to the Spanish influence and KOLs. But there's a huge amount of information that the English speakers would have, or likewise the Spanish speaking influencers would have, that, is usually not available to the non-native speakers. So KOLS as a project actually enables the influencers themselves with their text writing style, their voice style, and video as well soon, to interact with their followers, or just anyone who's interested to find out about their specific project or speciality, in over 100 languages. So this is it's a really cool part of the project. It's really nice application of the AI, but it does make it extremely inclusive to anyone from over 100 different languages around the world, and makes that information suddenly available in a way that isn't usually possible for them.
That's amazing. Favor Joy, thank you for that question, because I think in terms of localization for influencers, you've touched on a great subject there, Dan. Even with my personal experience, I currently reside in Southeast Asia, so a lot of people that are available in my time zone are obviously like Chinese speaking. There's a lot of Singaporean traders, Chinese traders, there's a lot of Korean and Japanese traders, and all of their KOLs, all of the popular accounts are pretty much gated from you. Even with Google Translate or doing those sort of rough tools, it's very hard to understand the cadence. It doesn't really come across correct, and a lot of that you'll kind of lose out on real time. So being able to have access to those types of traders and have it in your own localized language to understand it better would be, I imagine, a massive benefit for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's even a limitation of a lot of chatbots in themselves. So, even if you had some kind of chatbot in various groups, a lot of them don't have the ability to switch between different languages and answer questions in different languages. And any decent sized community group generally will have foreigners jump in. They'll just jump in with some Russian or Chinese or Portuguese, Spanish, French every so often, and usually they're hit with a wall of "speak English, please." Right? You put the onus back on them to suddenly have to speak English, which it makes sense, because not everyone can obviously speak 50 different languages. So it makes sense to try and keep things in English, but having that ability for the bots to respond and the agents to respond in any language just kind of breaks that down in a friendlier way than has been there before. Yeah,
and to add to that as well, if you consider that somebody who doesn't speak English well trying to ask questions in English, if they're having to go through third-party translation tools like Google Translate or like Translate that's available on like the Apple devices or anything like that, for instance, a lot of the linguistics that are available, or a lot of the language and terminology that we use in Web3 doesn't translate effectively on those apps. So you'll be asking questions and the actual point of the question might not even come through properly. So the answers you're getting wouldn't even be similar to what you're asking. So that could be completely eliminated through, the AI bot already being able to speak in your local language, understanding what you mean, or, the terminology, if the AI is actively learning from Web3 KOLs who consistently use that type of language, are familiar with that terminology, and have taught the AI what it means and what that entails, it will allow for a much smoother experience, I think, for a lot of people trying to educate themselves and learn more about the Web3 space.
Yeah, exactly. Just and all the different acronyms, all the different I don't know about you guys, but even I've been in the space for coming up on 9 years now, give or take. And even for me, just the amount of different acronyms, different sort of derivatives, and just different ways of naming stuff, different projects, different tokens, different everything else. There's just so much there that you just, of course, the translations wouldn't be able to keep up. But just for ourselves, there's just so much there that a quick sort of well-trained AI agent would just become super useful in terms of deciphering. there's a couple of great Twitter accounts who are really helpful when it comes to demystifying some of that side of things, but not that many. And some of the developers actually manage to keep track of all of the different, let's say, ERC standards, right? And they understand what it's all for. But God, I lost count at around after the first 5 or 6. God knows how anyone actually keeps up with that.
Yeah.
And so there's a real opportunity for these replicas to fill that sort of understanding gap and be that helping support there.
Yeah, and definitely closing in the gap there. So yeah, fantastic question there, Favor Joy. Thank you for hopping on the mic there. I realize it. Again, I think that's a perfect example of everyone can be a bit microphone shy of things. So coming in and asking questions, it's great to see people hopping on as well. I think being conscious of time and making sure, I'm sure you're a very busy man as well, Dan, but guys, I do apologize. That will be the last question.
It's up to you guys. I've got a few minutes if you want to answer the last 2.
Yeah, well, let's see. I think Ray, I'll take Liko, because Liko, he's had his hand up for quite a while. So Liko, the privilege of final question is going to go to you. If you're still here, you can go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, good day.
Good evening, Liko. Go ahead, ask your question. Loud and clear, brother. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've been listening to the MA for a while, and I'm really bullish. So I want to ask a question based on the NFT. Will you inculcate a future, just like when someone will use the NFT to swap the NFT to token?
Was the question, where will we swap the NFT for tokens? Is that the question?
Yeah, you have a future, just like when somebody have an NFT, you have the privilege to swap your NFT to.
Oh, we may have lost him there.
No. I guess I can touch on the NFTs just very slightly again. I'm not sure I think it might have been a bit of a generic question, but yeah, I mean, the NFTs of the replicas down the line essentially means that, as soon as you've got these KOLs as AIs, as AI replicas of themselves, by minting those AI agents as NFTs in themselves, and essentially, you have a way of offering the opportunity for the KOLs and their followers to decentralize themselves a bit and offer that as an opportunity to license out and then share the revenue with NFT holders directly as well. So it also just has an opportunity through a KOL specific platform to have NFTs of these KOLs and influencers that could also find their own intrinsic value. We could work with different artists to do that, and then there is entirely the possibility that KOLS as a project in itself does become the first sort of Web3 influencer platform that is decentralized in itself as an actual influencer marketing agency. So there's a few different potential opportunities in the future. The NFTs of replicas is definitely one of the sort of more exciting parts of this, and ties back into the Web3 side of things really nicely as well. So yeah, let's but those will be sort of Q2 2025 things to approach, so a bit further out.
Yeah, later down the road to be developed. But yeah, so I think there's a lot to look forward to, and in terms of we always talk about the goldfish mentality of a lot of investors. So I think you guys already have the plan that you've got 25 KOLs onboarded, but then a consistent pool of new KOLs that can come through. I think that will add for a refreshing new amount of content to be forever added. That would encourage more people to stick around and new exciting news to come around each time. But then also not limiting it just to that and sticking to, I think like we touched on earlier, not sticking to one tone, making sure to give the opportunity for more diverse options that are already popular in Web3. Is definitely a great way to keep people engaged and to target even other communities that may have not initially seen what you guys are up to and what's been going on. So yeah, fantastic to see. Yeah, obviously, aside from a couple generic ones, I do apologize for that, but we've had some great questions here today, guys. So I do appreciate that. If you guys have any further questions for Dan and for the KOLs team, please go ahead and join up with their Telegram. I'm sure their mods, admins, community members will be more than happy to help you guys out with any further information, questions, anything of that regard. You can head over to there. It's t.me/KOLs chat. And again, that's up in our pin message. So if you do want to just join up directly, just go up a few of the pin messages. You'll see all the links there. That also includes their website and their Twitter and their link tree as well. So you can go do some research, check them out if you did miss any of the earlier AMA. Dan, as we come to a close of today's AMA, I do just want to hand the microphone back to you. If there's any other key information that you want to re-highlight or anything that we might have missed, please let the people know.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. The pre-sale starts in 1 hour, so you guys have probably got the best quality alpha time for having a chat before the post goes out. Other people may have forgotten. It's a really exciting time. The market's going to continue to absolutely rip for the next few months. So, this will be the Octavia of this year. I think it's the project that kind of will. It was timed so nicely, and obviously as a project that isn't just a random meme coin on Solana, has a real opportunity. So get on Gempad, throw in some of that hard for ETH, and welcome to the future of influence and marketing.
Wonderful. Well, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in today. Thank you for coming in and sharing all the wonderful information with the Future Lounge community. We look forward to hearing more from you guys down the line. And we'd love to stay in touch and keep updated as, all those new developments occur, when you guys are coming for the full launch, and obviously, when we see further developments with the AI tools, with new KOLs coming on board, and obviously, like we said, Q1, Q2 next year, Q2, Q3 next year, looking at the implementation of the NFTs as well. So yeah, please keep us updated as you see fit, and we look forward to the pre-sale round 2 in just an hour and launch soon after.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Bye now.
All right, guys. Well, that was our AMA with Dan and